Hi, this is St. Jerome of Crypto Experiences, bringing yet another crypto experience. Today, we have Grant from Litecoin Underground with us. Today is the 3rd of June of 2023. Hi, Grant.
Hey, how's it going?
So happy to have you on here. I've been listening to some of your podcasts, and I really like what you do.
I appreciate that. Yeah, I think you'd mentioned before you were emailing me like things to talk about. How'd you get into podcasting? And I'm like, I didn't even really intend to do a podcast. It's just kind of happened. So uh yeah, it's been fun. I think I try to look at things from a little different angle in a lot of crypto shows, right? I'm not obsessed with charts too much, and it's more just about the idea of these coins and what service do they provide, I guess. What do they do? And not only the functional, like technical, but really kind of how do humans interact with these things. So it's been fun. We've built a really good community in the spaces, and it's been a lot of fun for the last almost, I think I'm going on, I might be at 80 some weeks in a row
Oh,
doing
wow.
Twitter spaces.
And now, when
I'm
is your
almost
Twitter
84.
Twitter space, Grant?
What's that?
When is your Twitter space?
Oh, we do them Wednesdays at 9 Eastern, 9 p.m.
Okay.
Eastern. Yeah, I've done them I think every week. The only ones I've had, I'm on vacation or something, I'll pop on for like 20 minutes just to keep the streak going. But for the most part, it's pretty reliable. And, we go from about 9 to midnight. I've been trying to hard cap them at midnight so I don't stay up too late. But yeah, that's really kind of how this all came about. I started them. Um, my initial reasoning was to just kind of collaborate. Probably Johnny Litecoin.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
haven't met him, but I know who he is for sure.
So he was always this merchant guy. Like he knows how credit card payments work and merchants.
Hmm.
And I thought, he's got some expertise. It'd be nice if we could kind of collaborate and learn from him to all be better at, I don't know, talking to your local shop owner and explaining how to onboard them to crypto. That was my initial thought. And then we just started having these conversations, and it's just evolved into we talk about everything. We talk about a lot of what I am always trying to get the heart of is kind of the culture of Litecoin. And if you're on Twitter, Bitcoin's got this
Hmm.
toxic attitude, and
Right.
they're very dismissive and like one coin only, which I think is kind of, it's the opposite of how human beings act, right? Where there's so many varieties of personalities and desires that people are always going to find other reasons to want to use different coins. So I'm pretty open to talking about anything. There's certain coins that are obviously, I think, are very blatantly garbage, but there's definitely a stack of them that can make some sense. And
So
um, yeah,
So well, yeah, there's like 21,000 what plus crypto coins, out there.
yeah,
So I got in the space about 2016, which I think is about the time you did. I think
yeah,
is
yep.
that
That's when I first bought a coin. Yeah,
yeah, and Litecoin is one of the first. I think I had one of the first, not first Litecoin, but as soon as Coinbase had Litecoin on there, I bought Litecoin and go, oh, this is a lot cheaper than Bitcoin.
yeah, yeah.
All Litecoin, right?
Still is, unfortunately.
Yeah. I unfortunately bought a couple at like $360 or whatever. What the
Oh, oh,
at
geez,
the
yeah,
high in
yeah.
2007. But I also bought some at like $4. So
Yep.
it kind of evens out over time. But yeah, I got into and I got when I first started, I got in all these crazy coins. I got Komodo coin and
Yep.
salt bad idea. I made some boo boos. Voyager, that's kind of a boo boo I've made, but I also
Oh
bought
yeah.
Doge when it was like gazillion below zero, and so that came out pretty good.
Yep.
So I think I'm okay overall. What other coins do you are or assets are you interested in or have been interested in?
You know, I would say the things we talk about. Me personally, I'm almost all Litecoin. I have a little bit of Bitcoin, a little bit of Monero, a little bit of Doge, but it's mostly just maybe somebody if they wanted to buy a hat and something else,
Mm-hmm.
or I'm not investing in a lot of other coins besides Litecoin. And I would say that I'm invested, but I think I've gotten past the point where I'm trying to look at these things as some sort of, you know, investment. To me, it's just that's the money that I am going to settle in, right? So at the end of the day, that's what I'm trying to accumulate is more Litecoin.
Well,
Because I
yeah.
just believe. Go
Oh,
ahead.
sorry about that. well, I just say, I mean, the use case for currency is amazing because every time I move Litecoin, it's just zap. It's just right there. Yeah, no trouble getting through. We both know it's not broken down ever.
Right.
It's been running since Charlie Lee put it up there and going, and it's amazing. I'm just it's like silver to gold. Why isn't silver $500 an ounce right now? It's coming out of the ground at four. It comes out of the ground at like 7 to 1, but it by the time you use it in technology, it's more like 4 to 1. Well, same thing
Yeah.
with Bitcoin to Litecoin, right? The ratio should be more 4 to 1, but it isn't.
Yeah, that's it's funny that I deep dived into that. I think when I was talking to Clint, maybe on that um on my live stream, I did one, and I got kind of went down the rabbit hole of like, well, how much gold is there, right? How much gold is there? How
Mm-hmm.
much is it used in industry? Because that's the big claim of the gold bugs. Is like uh it's required in cell phones and cars, and you would, spaceships and all that. But if
Mm-hmm.
you look at like how much of gold is used, it's almost nothing. It's maybe 3% of all the gold that's mined every year is used in industry, not to mention all the gold that's already above the ground. And then gold itself is infinitely recyclable. So you have almost this like unending supply to satisfy that small industrial demand. Other than that, it's jewelry and money, and jewelry can be made out of 100 different things. So it's more like just a, I don't know. It doesn't make a whole lot of sense that it has such a premium, except
Mm-hmm.
for that's what people have assigned to it. That's what I say when people are unpredictable. You don't know why people, uh, they're not always making decisions based on some sort of worked out logic.
Yeah, I'm on the school that believes there's a lot more gold than they say. I think there's been stashes of gold in different places, and we don't want to be the conspiracy realist. I'm more conspiracy realist, not a theorist,
Yeah.
But I'm just saying there's a lot more gold. They told me there's 2 swimming pools worth of gold in the world. I was like, that's such garbage. There's so much gold. The silver is the one that's going to be tough because of the technology. It gets used up, and until silver gets higher, we're not going to recycle it because you're not going to go
Yep.
spending thousands of dollars to recycle $30 silver. But if silver gets to be 1,000 or 2,000, which I think we're heading up to big bucks eventually. Yeah, have you ever listened to Bix Weir at all and his talks on
No,
Road to Ruin?
I need to, because I think Lisa and Clint have both want me to, and no, I haven't. I'm on Twitter doing my Litecoin stuff, and
Mm-hmm.
outside of that, it's like I kind of mentally check out. I don't have
Yeah,
time
if
for
you
the
get
rest of
time to
it,
go
right?
to roadrooted.com sometime. I've met Bix a couple times and talked to him too. And
He's
yeah,
a big
he's
silver guy.
what's that?
He's a big silver guy.
Oh yeah, big silver, a big crypto guy too. He's got a song "Litecoin is the right coin." Have you heard that one?
Oh yeah, I think I have heard
That,
that. Yeah.
that's Bix's song. He wrote. He sang that I think at the first Litecoin summit with Dick Algeier from Crypto Viewing and Snippy. Joe Snips.
Nope. Nope.
Oh, he's uh, Joe. I don't know Joe's real last name, but I'm on his Patreon. But I listen to him a lot for crypto. He's done a good job of predicting bull markets and that. He's not really a trader, perhaps. Like he's not one of those guys with charts, but he knows some things. He knows some people, and by golly, hits it pretty much. So we all three are big theta people too. I think
Okay.
theta's got a big use case. Unfortunately, when it went up to $16, I said it's going higher, and now it's 86 cents. So that was I
How
should
much
have.
is it now?
It's about 86, 83, 86.
Oh, yeah.
But I really got most of mine at 4 cents. So I'm
Right.
not feeling so bad, but I,
Yeah,
I
yeah, you're
think
doing
it's
fine.
going back up because you're going to need it to stream the internet in the future. So it's stayed as like a software, and you're going to be giving up your bandwidth on your computer to reroute the internet, and then you get
Okay.
rewarded in theta fuel as its currency, which is a pretty cool system. So
Yeah, I think I heard about that from
yeah.
I did an interview with another guy, Simon something. Simon Future is what he goes by.
Oh,
He was working on something like that as well. There's a different coin. I don't know. And that's the thing. It's so many of them. Oops, sorry about that. I
that's
tried to,
okay.
and that's where like for me the purpose originally was the sound money, right? The
Right.
peer stateless money, and that to me is what still kind of interests me. I'm curious about these other coins. I think a lot of coins are easily replaced by businesses. Like
Mm-hmm.
once you take away the permissionless part, like once we're in a system where I still have to get authorization from a government, then it starts to become like, well, why am I using the coin then? Because you'd be better off with a database, some
Mm-hmm.
centrally run database, if I'm going to have to, if there's a checkpoint, so to speak, anyway. And that's where, I'm open to some of these things, but I start thinking like, they're not getting adopted. We're not seeing some of the adoption of blockchains that maybe we would like to see. Like in business, I would love to see things like, I'm surprised we don't use them for inventory or logistics yet, or something where, yeah, maybe tracking a package on a decentralized blockchain where there's not an unhackable blockchain. That would make sense
Right.
for a business to know, like FedEx to know, I don't need to maintain this, but they've got enough money in servers that they probably don't have to worry about it. Um, I don't know. Maybe we'll see if more hacking starts to happen that might drive the need for some of these blockchains. But as of right now, they're not being used outside of money very much, or these like PFP, these pictures and stuff we're seeing. So
I'm gonna
we're
bring up
getting there.
a dirty three-letter word here for you, XRP.
Yeah.
So
Why
I've
don't
been
know?
doing the deep dive into XRP, and I would call myself near a Litecoin maximalist.
Okay.
I'm not, I'm open to whatever, but the Litecoin is the one I like the most.
Is the
But
right coin.
yeah, but they are definitely going to try to replace the Swift system with the ISO 222 tokens. And there's like seven of them, and XRP and XLM are the two biggest. And
Mm-hmm.
XRP is going to be used to move between institutions quickly. Well, that sounds like banker coin, which gets Bix Weir and Clint all upset. We talk about
Right.
a banker coin, but yet I'm going to see adoption of that. And then XLM is kind of seems to be between peer to peer kind of thing. Now there is a lot of XLM scandal right now because they were on this Lobster wallet, which is one of the big wallets. Some people were pushing these stocks they made, these tokens, and it appears that they were just garbage and people are losing a lot of money on it.
Right.
So, it's a wild west. So I saw them and I said, "Oh, I don't think this is all legit here." So, but I think the coin itself is stable. But I'm a guy that likes a little bit of I like a little bit of a few of these other things. What if I'm wrong? What if XRP does do well? Well, 50 cents.
Right.
That's does not very much money, and XLM's like 9 cents. You can get and Doge. Shoot, that's how what happened. Doge, and that worked out pretty well, really.
Right. Yeah. And then again, I'm interested in the Swift, because that seems to be the big
Mm-hmm.
consensus, right? That they're gonna what's the benefit to a bank for using XRP over Swift?
Well, the Swift system, you got to go through so many middlemen, and then so I mean XRP then is a crypto, and it's super fast. I mean, it's probably the way I understand. I think it's the faster than Litecoin. There is got
Right.
does more it does more transactions per second. It's like an unbelievable number of transactions per second. So the downside I see is it looks like this is a very trackable thing. Using any exchanges with XRP is trackable. And I believe that lawsuit, SEC, taking them to court, I think that has a lot of show.
Mm-hmm.
I think is more a delay tactic to try to keep it down, XRP down for a little bit. But I think it's gonna be coming out of that pretty soon.
Right.
Again, I'm not a huge XRP fan, but is it, well, I'll dab a little bit, at that point, and I might got an open mind to it.
Right. Yeah. It's funny because that coin's been around obviously just as long as almost everything else. And I've never dived into it because I don't know. It's like, uh, I guess you could call it the maximalism mentality. Back in the day, it was always just like, look, XRP is garbage. And
Yes,
I didn't
yeah.
bother to look at it. Right. So, I definitely fell victim to that. And where I listened to people, that probably had motives to keep me away from looking at other things.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know. Overall, I'm pretty cautious. You can tell if I'm mostly Litecoin, I'm pretty cautious as far as investing. Like I signed up for this on-chain monkeys thing, which is like an NFT, it's an ordinal thing. This guy Danny, I always mess up his name. It's Huuep, but he pronounces it like wep or something
Web.
like that.
Okay.
I don't know, HUUEP. He runs it. I guess he's an old friend of Charlie's. He worked with Charlie at
So
Google
this is
like
on the Litecoin chain,
20 years ago. No, this is on Bitcoin actually.
Bitcoin. Okay.
He came in just to talk about ordinals, and he was explaining this, and they had a giveaway like, hey, we're doing a launch, and so I signed up and I got it. I actually had to use Bitcoin to get, and it was a pain in the
Mm-hmm.
butt. I don't want to use Bitcoin again because it's so slow. But
Oh, the
uh,
fees, like I've got on a couple of I was playing with your Cake wallet. You
oh yeah, yeah, yeah,
got me interested into that. So and so I accidentally, because I wasn't used to the wallet yet, I accidentally bought Bitcoin, not much, instead of
yeah.
Litecoin. I go, oh no, and then I bought my Litecoin, and I moved Litecoin off Zap, and then all of a sudden Bitcoin, oh, that's going to be a lot of money to move your Bitcoin. I go, oh
Yeah.
crap, I'll just leave it there for now. Then it doesn't matter.
Yeah, I made 3 transactions because I was like taking 2 wallets and compiling them. All right, yeah, I moved something. I had to move 3 times. I moved Bitcoin, and it was like all told, I spent like $25 in fees
Yeah,
between three
ridiculous.
transactions, and I had to sit there for like 40 minutes between these transactions. It was insane.
Yeah, we're used to Litecoin things like a penny,
I know.
2 pennies.
Or well,
Like,
yeah, I
oh,
mean,
oh, I got it already.
you can send test transactions in Litecoin and not think much about it. 'Cause, oh, it cost me a
Right.
tenth of a penny. Where you kind of just have to bite the bullet. If you're spending $100 in Bitcoin, well, if I'm paying $5 in fees, I can't send a quick
Yeah.
$5-10 transaction to make sure it gets there or whatever. I don't do that as much as I used to, but
Well,
um,
I'll tell you what I was doing for a while. I have given up on Coinbase totally.
yep.
I've run a lot of bad things with Coinbase. Some people got I don't know if you know Jay Mack. He's a Litecoin fan person with like Clinton in the Happy Hour gang, but
Yep.
he got hacked in Coinbase somehow, and they were taking micro payments out of his account, and
Oh, I didn't.
he's trying to stop it, and he couldn't stop it, and Coinbase is like tough. And I had a friend. They did dance around for my gosh about 2 weeks before they let his what he was trying to do go through. And so after I heard those things, I just don't use it anymore. I've been using one thing is on ramps I was talking about. So obviously Cake Wallet is an on ramp. I was using Strike, which is only Bitcoin, but then I took it out of Strike to my Exodus wallet, and there in Exodus I can trade almost anything, and the fees weren't that bad.
Did you buy? You said you bought in Cake Wallet. I've never bought with Cake Wallet actually.
You know what?
I only
Maybe
swapped.
did I buy a cakewalk? No, I haven't bought there yet. I had it. I had it ready. I will try it out. I'd like to mess around with those things. Throw $10 at or something and see what. I
Yeah.
think. Yeah, and the latest thing I've been using, it's worked so good so far for is Olive. It's a new on ramp. Do you know
Mhm.
the coin flip ATMs?
Yeah. I mean, I don't think I have them near me, but yeah, I've heard.
Yeah, the same company has this Olive, OLLIV,
Yeah.
and it's a pretty good. It only has let's see, Bitcoin, Litecoin, Ethereum, and I want to say Chainlink. They only has those four, but it's worked really really smooth for Litecoin, and the fees are 3% purchase. About
Yeah.
I went to do that with Bitcoin too, and it was more like 20% purchase on it.
Oh, because they have to give you the network fee. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So
Yeah. I mean, it's surprising to me that, well, I mean, I don't know. I think the fees are something that don't get discussed much, and people kind of looking at Bitcoin aren't looking at it as a cash. And the way I think Bitcoiners have chosen to advance the coin, I actually agree with that they're keeping it um, maximally decentralized. Like that's the goal. Keep it as
mm-hmm.
small blocks, let it be decentralized, and let it be this base layer of great sound money that we're not playing too many games with, right? And I would say Litecoin tries to do pretty much the same thing, but obviously there's slightly larger blocks. The
Right.
MWeb adds some more blocks too. So maybe there's a little sacrifice, and it's less decentralized. I mean, they're both very decentralized. I always say it's kind of like being pregnant. You're either pregnant or you're not, right? You're
Right.
decentralized
Right.
or you're not. But um, so yeah, and that's where I would rather see, when people are using these, if you go to Africa or Latin America, that they're using something like Litecoin or Dash or XRP, whatever
Mm-hmm.
fits for them, Doge, instead of a Lightning network or some sort of second layer. I would rather see these other coins act just as a second layer, because I think that that adds to the idea of decentralization. It's almost like the United States, right? Originally, we were a collection of states, and that's kind of how I would like to see the crypto world maybe advance and say, look, we got a collection of coins that are all have their own networks, right?
Right.
They all operate independently, and so if one fails or one has an issue, that doesn't damage the rest of them.
Yeah.
Uh,
I'm
and then
big.
have eventually
I'm sorry.
an exchange rate would settle in, hopefully over time, right? I mean, will it be 4-1 Bitcoin, Litecoin? I don't know. Probably that might be a dream, but maybe 5 or 6 to 1, something like that.
Yeah, I'm a big one for diversification on assets for so if things get rough with all the debt ceiling falling down because there's really no stop on it. It's like, oh my gosh, there's no limit here. They can spend all they want for the next to 2025. They act like there's a limit. There is no limit on that. They say they're
Right.
going to address it again and then go over the 4 trillion. Well, if we go into hyperinflation, what things are going to be good? Well, I think right off the bat, having cash in your hands is good for a very short amount of time because people are going to
Yeah.
recognize cash. But then we're going to be going into we're going to go into crypto, maybe silver and gold next, perhaps. More people will know that. But, those who know,
Yeah.
you're going to be slipping into crypto soon, too. And I believe eventually we're getting our dollar as we know it now is not going to be around. I don't see that too much in the future. On my podcast, I
Right.
showed pyramids of kids in Weimar, Germany in 1923 making pyramids out of 300 trillion Reichsmark notes, making kites out of them.
Yeah.
They're burning for fuel, for crying out loud. And then you had the dumpster of Venezuelan bolivares outside the
Yeah.
Bitcoin conference 2 years ago, and nobody touched the bolivares, even though they could have had millions and millions of bolivares. And then was
I think
another
that
one.
was actually Cake Wallet's display, if I'm not
Oh
mistaken.
yeah, that was just awesome. I saw that. I was like, oh, God, that's so funny. And then I can't forget he's Zimbabwe. How can I forget for Zimbabwe?
Yeah.
There's a classic picture if you search on Google. These guys from Zimbabwe have these big smiles on. They got this poster with all their bills and it says, "We're starving billionaires." They'll just sign up
Yeah.
for their 300 trillion Zimbabwe dollars.
Yeah, well, and I think the crypto bros or whatever, we probably are overlooking gold and silver. I think I did an episode about that a few weeks ago. I'm on the so every Twitter Spaces I come in, I have like my thought of the week or whatever,
Yeah,
or a
yeah.
couple things I want to kind of rant about. And I was doing some brainstorming about gold, and to me, gold is so widely recognized. It for people to think that if we had hyperinflation, everybody's going to just everything melts into Bitcoin or Litecoin. It will be a lot of it, but it won't
Mm-hmm.
be what gold and silver are because they're everywhere. And frankly, there's some advantages. I think gold and silver, the ability to hold it is a lot. There's a much lower uh I guess knowledge level you need, right? You can just
Right.
I have it in my hand. I don't have to there's nothing confusing about it. I can't just lose it. I can't screw up and just lose my coins, right?
Oh no, I need my seed words. No, no, you
Yeah,
don't.
right.
You
So
just need a
like
big
there's
pot.
still that barrier that I think will always again, it's really foolish to think people won't diversify. That's any rational person says, look, you should have it. Like I would love right now. Is there other money? Is there other stocks I have in my 401ks and all
Mm-hmm.
that from retirement that I could liquidate everything and buy a Litecoin? Yeah, I'm very confident in Litecoin, but at the same time, we also know that we're flawed people, right? So
Yeah.
I might be wrong, and I have to everybody should balance out their portfolio and not just go all in on one thing. The, another thing I hate about these Bitcoiners is when they talk about a house and they're like, well, a house is a dumb investment. It's like a house, timeout. The number one thing you should get if particularly if you have a family or you got a job, you're going to be somewhere a long time, buy a house. Like you got to live somewhere. Don't be foolish and be renting. I mean, can you imagine having all your wealth in Bitcoin and you live in a place that you have to rent? That's
Yeah, and
just
they
it's
could
like
say, "Hey,
crazy, right?
we need your house now."
Yeah, you're like, I love permissionless systems, and yet you live in a house with somebody else's permission. It's like
Yeah, exactly.
so number one, Litecoin Underground is telling you the first major investment should be getting a home, a roof over your head for the long time frame. So
Yeah,
there,
I tell folks, if nothing else, just get silver because it's so, so darn cheap. You can get
yep,
a silver dime, 1964 and below, which is 90% silver, right? You get that thing for about $2.50 right now. So
yep,
when it comes to bartering, there you go. You got the really small unit that you can barter with somebody. You don't have to try to barter an ounce of gold for a tank of gas, right?
yeah, yep,
That's going to be rough to do, but you could barter some dimes with somebody or 50-cent piece or something. And that junk silver, as it's called, that stuff's just outrageously premium right now, too. 24, 25
yeah.
times face
My
value.
dad, so my dad he started working for a numismatic company in the 80s and then started his own business in 91, 92. So he's getting to the point he's going to be retiring. But so I've been kind of in that world. I never worked for
Oh.
him. I always kind of stayed away, but he was, he's mostly buys collections and sells them to dealers. So he's kind of
Mm-hmm.
a wholesaler. Um, but yeah, so I think, and that goes back again to like when you talk about bartering with gold versus silver. I think that's probably where the difference in Bitcoin and Litecoin is now, is because people don't actually use them. They're not in a scenario where they uh, are having to use them to actually transact. Because if they were, people would actually prefer silver over gold because the denominations, it's easier to
Right.
get. You know what I mean? It wouldn't be this like I'm freaking out because I'm holding this whatever $10,000 coin. And the same thing with Bitcoin versus Litecoin. If people actually had to use it, no one would want Bitcoin because it's entirely too expensive to use, right? So they would move to Litecoin and Dogecoin and probably some of these others like Monero and maybe again, I don't know enough about XRP, but I know there's a lot of XRP people. I
Yes,
just don't know.
they got
I
a
don't
they've
ever
got a
see it
big
anywhere.
community. Yeah, there's the big podcaster right now that he's fun to watch is Mel Carmine. You can find him by searching on YouTube. He's got a presence on YouTube, but most of what he says is on Rumble. Since you're a little more free
Okay.
speech on Rumble than YouTube. But
Yeah.
yeah, Mel Carmine, he sits in a big blue throne and got the old independent United States flag when it was like for sovereign when it was a
Colonies.
sovereign place. Yeah, I don't know exact flag, but it's like the colors are almost reversed in the thing. It's got like a kind of white field and blue stars and red and white stripes. So it's a little different
Okay.
looking. But anyway, it's interesting to listen to their podcast over there. So and picked up a lot of information. But there's a just like Litecoin community, they've got a huge community too. But still, at heart, I'm Litecoin fam.
Yeah, I mean XRP doesn't. I don't see it many places. I don't know where. I don't know why people are using it, or if they're using it, and what they're using it
Well, a
for.
lot of governments are starting to set up to use it now. So I mean that's going to happen. I don't know to what extent that means for us right now,
Right.
but a lot what BRICS are, right? Brazil, Russia,
Yeah. Yep.
India, China, South Africa. Well, they now are they're about at 70% of the world now as their organization. So it's not just those five. They've got about 80 countries right now, and they got another 30 knocking on the door.
Right.
So King Dollar is about to be unseated, and their whatever currency they settle on, I don't know what they're going to settle on, is going to be gold based. So they all been just bringing in tons of gold, and then for the poorer countries, they're going to let them use whatever assets they have, like say it's lithium or some other kind of mineral or export product.
All right. It sounds good. I'll be interested to see it. I don't think
Yeah.
I don't think the United States and Europe are going to
Oh,
just
they're
roll
not.
over and let something
Well,
like
except
that.
Germany and France are already getting ready to join.
Yeah, well, yeah, we'll see.
That I
I'm
mean,
interested.
that's a big hunk out of Europe right there.
I Yeah, I do hope that. I mean, I think eventually all fiat currencies die.
Oh yeah,
I just hope I would like to see it be some sort of peaceful death, but I don't know
yeah,
if that's
same here.
possible
I
because
wasn't exactly totally upset about the debt ceiling right now. I said, well, I feel like I bought a couple months, a time before things went go. But it's going to make it worse at the end, of course. Though, when it's just like when they're hyperinflating us out of nowhere, it's like, oh my god.
well, I mean, the central banks, they have a lot of power, and they certainly aren't interested in losing that power. So
No, but
I tend to think that what they did like in the 80s with interest rates, that may end up being the tactic. They may just say, look, people are going to feel pain. It's going to be politically terribly unpopular, but we need to do the responsible thing. And that's actually the crazy thing with all the speculation with gold and Bitcoin, is that if the government were to truly just become good stewards of the dollar, then a lot of this stuff wouldn't have any value. It would really kill the purpose of Bitcoin in a way. I mean, and not, or I shouldn't say that. It would kill a lot of the speculative value. You know, still the
I
peer to peer stateless money is good, but the whole scarcity thing wouldn't mean a lot if the U.S. actually didn't print money like they were
well, but
going out of style.
they're going to,
Well,
So,
you think they're going to, but they might just say, you know what, let's stop printing and get
well,
restricted in the 90s, right?
let's look at the Federal Reserve. They're not part of our government. They're a private bank. They're not federal,
Yeah.
nor the reserve. So I saw one time they take about a couple $100 to print $100 million in notes.
Yep.
So their paper and their inks, $200. They send it to the United States. Say, hey, here's your fiat currency. Now you owe us interest on $200 million, even though it only costs us $200 to make it.
Yeah.
That's pretty good business.
Well, it's a good business unless those dollars that you're fully invested in become worthless. And that's what I
Well,
mean.
that's what I mean. Yeah.
I think there'll be a lot more fight to keep the US dollar being relevant, because it gives those banks, they have nothing if all they're holding is dollars, right? Oh, I mean, they have some gold, but I think you know what I'm saying. Like
Right.
it's in their best interest to make the dollar survive.
Well, I
It's
think
not.
they're trying to really issue in quickly like a Fed Now coin. You've
Yeah,
heard of
I would
that?
agree.
Yeah, I think they're trying to, and then get rid of all currency, all paper currency, period. I personally think that's going to fail miserably. I don't think it's going to come across like they think it's going to come across.
Right. But in
So,
general, people will use the dollar far past when it's obvious to everybody else
mm-hmm,
who's paying attention that, hey, this thing is going to be, you're paying 10-20% inflation. You'll still have people clinging to the dollar. I mean, it's human nature for whatever, we just love being told what to do and like following orders, right? And I mean, gosh, I mean, the lack of people being frustrated with what happened after COVID, and I don't want to, when Trump printed all that money, it amazes me. First of all, I don't want to get political. I voted for Trump once. I didn't vote for him the second time because of the money printing. Uh, I think that for people to detach the fact that he's the one that was here when all that money got created, and to think that he's going to come back and somehow not do that again. I mean, it's so politically popular to print money. Um, dang, I lost my train of thought. Why I was going to talk to you about this. What the heck? What were we just? I just
well,
lost my train of thought completely. Um,
well,
as
fiat currency,
Yeah.
printing
Well, I
money.
don't know. I guess my point being that, I think that oh, I'm sorry, this is what I was trying to think about. The inflation was so high in that the general public, yeah, they complained, but it wasn't like they were aware of why it happened. They're just like, oh, gas prices are up under Joe Biden. It's like, well, yeah, Joe Biden is printing money, but it's been going on for so long. This isn't just him. And so people complain, but they ultimately get on with their lives. They don't know what the escape route is. They don't know what to do. They don't know that there is another option of saying,
Mm-hmm.
opt out of these things. And that's how I like to think about, we talk about, you had some questions you thought about maybe talking about the price. I'm not a big price talker because
Mm-hmm.
it's very unpredictable. And I like to think of it more about, it's a survival tool at this point. These few stateless monies that we do have, and I would say Bitcoin, Litecoin, gold, and silver are probably the four that. And honestly, I still even think Doge, because they're mined together. Litecoin and
Mm-hmm.
Dogecoin are mined together. They're going to survive whatever the states decide to do. Whatever happens with all this mess with fiat, those five things will be around on the other side.
Yeah,
How much value
Dogecoin
they'll
is
have, I don't know, but they'll be worth something.
Dogecoin is real surprising to me. I'm just amazed now. I'm becoming kind of I think of it fondly. I think it
Yep,
could be a useful currency also, especially with the
absolutely.
merge mining with Litecoin. It's like it's like, well, I don't mind spending 1,000 Doge here or there.
Yeah, I've
No
done a
big thing.
180. I literally in November 2020, I was like, okay, I'm gonna prepare myself for this bull market. and I went and bought the 2017 coins. I feel like an idiot now, but like anything that was proof of work, that's been my thing. It's proof of work. So I was buying like, I think Raven coin is proof of work. Bought a little
Yes.
bit of
Yeah.
that. I bought Vert coin, which I bought back in the day. I'm not even sure. Maybe there's like, I don't know, Saya coin. Yeah, Saya coin. I was buying all the 2017s. Like they'll all go up because they were like, I mean, they were way, way down. But the one I didn't buy was Dogecoin. I was like, everybody, to me, it was a joke. And it was, again, I just didn't dig into what Dogecoin really was. I would say I was fairly naive about it. So I didn't buy in November 2020 when I'd have gone like 100x, right? And I was going
Hmm.
to take like 2 Litecoin and I could have turned it into 200 Litecoin. But uh the point is, God, I'm losing my train of thought. I went out with my brother last night and I just drank too much.
Well, just all Dogecoin right
Yeah,
there.
well, so what I've learned though is in doing these spaces, I've really started to see how much culture matters. Bitcoin has an extremely, you may hate the culture of it, but man, they are like vicious, right? And they're rabidly attached to their coin. And that gives that community and that coin like a buyer of last resort. They know there's always somebody out there who's going to take and accept Bitcoin, right? And same thing with Doge. It's a totally different mentality, but they're loosely loyal and they have a fun culture, and it's become more
Hmm.
than just the money. And that's where I like to think that I'm starting to form that in Litecoin in these weekly spaces. I think Clint does a lot of that too. Like he's got a very good, I guess, finger on the pulse of Litecoin culture. I think he's very representative of Litecoin culture, honestly.
Well, if you get a chance to come to Peoria sometime when we have one of those Clint Westwood meetups, the next one's June 23rd at Peoria
I know
Pizza Works.
it's in 3 weeks. I know. I got to just talk to
Yeah,
my wife
so
and the same.
I'm definitely going. It's a lot of fun. So especially the Westwood part. So
It's about, I think it's about
except I'm going to
six
be
hours.
drinking. Let's see, where's my here? I'm going to be drinking my green tea
Yeah.
instead of my Tito's.
Yeah.
Lisa likes the Tito's.
Yeah. I try to avoid hard liquor. I'll have a little bourbon here and there, but for the
Hmm.
most part, I try to avoid it because it's just it doesn't end well. You know what
Yeah,
I mean?
yeah.
It
No,
always
I
goes a
do.
little too
I
far.
do
So
know what you mean.
I
So
have to self-police. Like I said, I was out with my brother and he lives out in Denver. Doesn't have a family or anything. So it's like I'm, when you have kids and stuff, like I gotta get up in the morning.
mhm.
I gotta have some sort of policeman of myself. I gotta be like a governor of sorts to go, okay, it's time for me to shut myself down. But when you can't do that with hard liquor, it's like you keep going.
Yeah.
you
Well, yeah,
know,
you don't realize what's hitting you till
yeah, yep.
later. Yeah.
You're way past. See, it's just like inflation. By the time you
Hmm.
recognize what's going on, it's too late.
So where do all those dollars go in my wallet?
Yeah, right. Yep.
So, hey, let me take a little peruse. I got my little list here. See if
Yeah, yeah.
something. I had one thing here is I'm getting vibes from a big bull run right now that's going to be short lived, and then
Mm-hmm.
a big crash coming after it. I mean, like 50% crash. But then I
On
believe
Litecoin,
after
you
that,
mean, or in
well, I've
general?
pretty much everything, but especially like in our community, especially the cryptos, I believe the precious metals are also going to take a hit. But then I think we're going to have a meteoric rise after that, and that's putting a lot of different people together, listening to a lot of different podcasts, and what precious metal people are saying, what the crypto people are saying, and different things. And to me, that seems to make the most sense right now. That we're going to have that run up, and everybody's going to like it's like a little pump and dump, but then I think eventually after it dumps, you can't keep it down
Right.
because because economy the way it's going, it's going to zap back up there. But I think we're seeing big prices not too far down the future. But I'm a bit of a hodler too, so I'm trying to ignore that, but take advantage of it a little bit also.
Yeah. Yeah. The market stuff is, I think, I don't know if I consciously made a decision early on just to like, I didn't want to get into it because I'm, I'm optimistic. I have a lot of it. I don't buy Litecoin because I think it's going to go down in price in the long term.
Right.
But I find that trying to speculate, trying to guess is like for me, I've given up. I feel like all it does is I'm just gonna be wrong a lot, and I like
Mm-hmm.
being right, so I'm just not even gonna venture a guess. Uh, I'm hopeful. I think people are going to slowly begin to see reasons why they want to have these coins. It can be it can be large, large figures. Somebody, I think Alex Jones is a good example of somebody, he got in a lot of trouble and he was starting to have difficulty banking. Peter Schiff right
Hmm.
now, ironically, the biggest Bitcoin hater in the world, he's having banking issues in his home country. And so I think some of these larger names, if they start to see like, oh, well, this is why I would want to use Bitcoin. I'm sending money or Litecoin, obviously,
Right.
uh, across borders, and it's a lot easier to use this system. And I guess it's almost like a general noise, like a background noise that slowly I think people will start to understand why they want to use these things. And then it's just dipping your toe in the water. It's like that's what it takes. Go out, get a wallet, buy your first coin, spend $50 on Litecoin, and just send it. And I love what Lisa and Clint do with that when they do their happy hours and they
Hmm.
send money around the room, which obviously you can't do if you're using Bitcoin. You can only do that with
Right. Right.
Litecoin
Yeah.
or
We'd have to wait a
Doge
couple
or
days
something.
for that to
Yeah,
show.
you'd have to wait a couple days. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's it's just going to take a lot of time. And to me, the speculative part of it, when everybody's like, oh, it's going to go to 100,000 or whatever, that to me is a little more of a distraction from your average person and what the real use of these things are. Because to me, a lot of times it starts to sound like the guy that goes on TV and talks about how I can invest in real estate. And he's got some sort of system that if you just buy into it, he'll teach you how to become a millionaire. It starts to feel very like BS marketing when it's
Right.
just like,
Right.
we're going to, Litecoin's going to $10,000. Like, well, it's very unlikely that's going to happen. Like, if it does, great. I mean, we'll all be happy about it. But at the same time, I can't build my life around that being part of the plan because it's very unlikely that's going to happen in the next 10 to 20 years. Right. So just buy it for different reasons and understand that it's a long game. And yeah, don't put all your hopes that you're going to like become a millionaire because you bought some Litecoin. Like, be more responsible with your money and stack slowly and save. That's number one. Being a saver is what
I'm a
needs to
big
change for a lot of
believer in,
people.
dollar cost averaging.
Yep.
No matter what you're getting into, whether it's mutual funds, which I wouldn't do anymore,
Right.
or
I
buying
agree.
silver or buying crypto. In the long run, that's a good strategy. I mean, you're going to be riding those ups and downs, and you get to a level. Well, hey, look, I've made a pretty good stack or whatever it is that you're investing in.
Yep.
Along the way. So, hey, I had a question. I'm a little ignorant of not I Mimble Wimble, correct? But I've
Yeah.
also
Yep.
didn't I hear people call it Nimble Wimble too? Is that just a
No,
mispronouncement?
I found that with myself. I'll say it, and it sounds like it comes out Nimblewimble, but it's
Yeah.
with an M. So Mimblewimble it's actually, it comes from a spell in a Harry Potter book, I guess. So
Oh, is that
some
what it
guy
is?
created it. Yeah, some guy created it
Oh,
anonymously, or he went by. He used the name that the guy from Voldemort uses in the book.
okay. I'm not a Harry
Doesn't
Potter
go
guy at all,
whatever. So yeah, that's
but
I
I
don't
know
know
what you
why.
mean.
Yeah. So yeah, it's MWeb, which is Mimblewimble extension blocks. All right.
Right.
So I don't know what you guys have talked about, but essentially it's this layer that it's still all on the Litecoin blockchain. The blocks are still mined, like extension blocks are mined
Right.
alongside the regular blocks. And inside the extension block, basically it's Mimblewimble active. So what that means is if I send you money in Mimblewimble, you don't see my address, you don't see, and like there's no public display of where your coins are going, like you have with main chain Litecoin and Bitcoin today, right?
Right.
And Dogecoin. So it kind of breaks some of that trackability of Litecoin. And also, I'm looking forward to using it more for a public, to be able to put an address out there and not have everybody see what's going in and out of that
Hmm.
address.
Right.
Like that seems like such a basic need that's just a massive oversight that we don't have that quite yet. But what's right now is there's only on Litecoin Core, so a lot of wallets don't recognize the address. So
Oh, okay.
if you scan a Mimblewimble QR code with like your Cake wallet, since
Yeah.
Cake wallet hasn't adopted MWeb yet, and that's because it's not available on mobile yet. That's what's happening with development. you'll scan that QR code and your wallet will just say that's not a Litecoin address.
Yeah, yeah.
So once the mobile wallets are upgraded and they are MWeb enabled, then you can operate. You should be able to operate mostly in a Mimblewimble on those extension blocks, which gives you some fungibility, some added privacy. But everything else will be basically the same as regular Litecoin.
So I'm a little ignorant of operating with the core of that. Is that mainly just on a desktop now? I
Yep.
don't think there's a mobile. Can you use the desktop version on your cell phone, or do you need more computing power? Well, that's got a lot of computing.
No, it has to do with the node. It has to do with some of the operability. Yeah, you can. I know that you can like link your Litecoin Core node to a mobile wallet. I don't know how to
Okay.
do that though, to be honest with you.
Yeah, me neither. I play around with that stuff, and I play around just enough that if I lose it, it's no big deal. Just like a couple bucks here and there to figure out how stuff works.
Yeah, I think you can even use your like your hardware wallet. You can link it to your mobile wallet somehow. I don't know. I keep that stuff kind of separate. I
I'll
don't
have to
keep a
ask
lot
Clint. I'll
on
have to ask
mobile.
Clint when I see him this in 3 weeks. I think he'll probably know. So
Yeah, it's probably
I
actually
can hear his voice in the back of my head. Uh, digital asset for digital age. Don't play at the vampire at if don't play
sound
in the
money for
vampire
the
casino
digital
with their
age. Yeah,
chips. Yeah, I hear his little voice in the back of my head all the time.
Vampire Casino. Yeah, I think he is right when you're talking about earlier. You had some Coinbase issues.
Oh
The,
yeah, I
the
won't touch
exchanges.
Coinbase
I would stay pretty far from exchanges in general. I think
now. Mm-hmm.
if you want to use them, jump on them, use them, and get off. Like
Yeah, that's why I use them
don't
on
stay.
ramp to get it, and then get them off as soon as I can. I don't leave anything on them anymore.
Yeah. And that's another reason, I like Cake Pay. They do sponsor my show. But
Mm-hmm.
they're very they're very much trying to build tools for this kind of circular economy to live outside of your banking system and avoiding permissioned layers. So
I was looking at Cake Wallet since you were coming on here, and boy, they have a whole bunch of gift cards, don't they? That you can.
oh yeah, it's great.
That's a huge list and decent discounts too, anywhere from 1% to 4%. I think I saw. I don't know if there's any more than that or not.
I don't know. I don't know. I mean, I use them, and Bitrefill also isn't bad. I would say that those are good. Those are good ways to again kind of opt out and use your crypto in a permissionless way. Yeah, Cake is it's a nice tool to have to swap, and they even have a new invoicing thing that I want to dig into a little bit. I just did an interview. I don't know if you watched the interview I just did with them, but
Oh yeah,
essentially,
I did actually. Yeah.
yeah, because one thing I really think is it would be really helpful in crypto is to have people who are used to receiving cash as payment. So people who do, I always say, like concrete, or they do your yard, or they paint,
Right.
or something like that. They live in a world where cash is okay, right? And if they could invoice people and kind of set up a more formalized system to receive crypto, I feel like that would be helpful. And so they got that. Cake has this new thing where you can essentially email someone a bill, and it's a specific amount. So if it's, hey, I want to do $200 in Litecoin, it'll just do the translation. It sends you an email with a QR code, pay this,
Oh, that's cool.
pay this invoice. Yeah, it's like, okay, that's pretty
Yeah, that's
cool.
real cool.
And those are the little barriers I think that still have to fall down. We're so far from this hyper crypto world because people are just afraid of it. They're uncomfortable with it. And so the more tools that come around that make it easier to use, like the Cake Pay wallets. I mean, that app is so quick and simple, and anywhere I go, I can just buy a card and scan it, and you buy the exact amount that you need, so you don't have to like have a bunch of gift cards with $2.30 on them or whatever,
Yeah.
right? So
Mm-hmm.
if my bill's $27.16, I buy a card for that much, I use it, and it's gone, right? And so
Oh, you can name your
yeah,
price.
you name
And
your price. You even
oh,
go and then
that's
like
good.
what's really cool is like in a restaurant, um, it'll be like, I don't know, let's say your bill's $22, it'll have an option in there to leave a tip, and you can just add a tip to
Oh,
it, and
well,
then
that's extra good.
20%. Yeah. So it ends up all coming out of there. I don't know. It's just, these are the tools, right? And we're cosplaying a bit in my mind. Like we're still going through the motions. I think the more you use it, the more, if you're an advocate of these things, uh, the more practiced you are, the more confident you're going to be
Mhm.
in showing people. And I think that's important. So like that's a Johnny Litecoin thing, right? Like he's always like, just always have some on you, you know, use it when you can use it. Because when someone is interested, you want to be ready, right? You want to have some on you, want to be able to send it. There's nothing worse when I get people who are like, they want to buy a hat and they're like, well, can I give you, I don't have any Litecoin in my wallet. It's like, dude, how are you a Litecoiner? You don't have $30? I mean, come on, what's going on
Yeah,
here? Like, that's part of the game, right? You got to be using it.
yeah,
And that's time. Time will prove that people will.
yeah. I've tipped some people with it. Bought some things, mainly like paying other Litecoiners, for something like buy a T-shirt from Clint or something, or
Yeah, yeah.
those kind of things. And I'd like to get one of your hats. Well, maybe we can figure out how to do
Yeah,
that
I've
with
got one. I got to remember. I want to make sure I keep at least. I have ones I wear, but then I want to keep
right.
two, like just pristine, a black and a white one. So I think I've only got
Well, this
one
is
black
getting
hat
rare
left.
then, huh?
Yeah, only
Well,
42 were ever made.
well, I can, I'll email you then, and I can send you some Litecoin for it then.
Yeah, yeah. All right, we'll figure that out. Yeah, I just
Yeah.
sent one out
So
yesterday. So
yeah, like I said, I've been watching your podcast to get familiar like that. Yeah, you do a really good job. You got a voice for broadcast. That's for sure.
dude, you have no idea how much people tell me that, and it's the
That's
weirdest
true.
thing.
I've
Like,
got. I mean,
I
I'm
went to
okay,
Vegas
but
and like everybody was like, "Oh man, you got a great voice," and I'm like, "How did?" I mean, I've had my voice my whole life. No one's ever said anything about it, and so, but yeah, I would like to branch out more. One of the things that I've toyed around with is dropping the Litecoin part, only because I feel it restricts who might come in. But
mm-hmm.
then at the same time, it that is my core. These are my people, right? And so it is mostly what we talk about. But my ultimate goal, I've started to go on. I don't know if you know who Christy Lee is. She did some stuff for Infowars. She was a newscaster in my hometown, and then
Oh,
she
it's
kind of went.
okay. Well,
I
yeah,
would say she got red pilled, right?
I'm real familiar with Infowars. That was one of the first red pills I had in the in kind of the political community. I've been red pilled biblically for a long time, and it's
Okay.
funny how those match up right now.
Yeah.
Things are matching up
Well,
really good.
so about a year, like I'd say 2 years ago, she left our local news station. She'd been here forever. Like, she grew up around. I'm in Northwest Ohio, and she went and kind of created her own news channel, and because she wanted to stop being kind
Mm-hmm.
of a puppet of the mainstream media. And I reached out to her just like, hey, would you want to be part of kind of Litecoin fam? Because
Yeah,
Bitcoin had all these like broadcasters that like Natalie Brunell and
right.
who else who are like very polished newscasters that I'm like, we need something like that for Litecoin.
Mm-hmm.
But she was like, well, you could come on, we'll talk about it. And so I went on there last year, and then this year, she and I are every couple weeks I go on, and she's got a lot bigger following than me, good following, and yeah, we've had some good conversations. But what I've started to kind of realize is that what I think I enjoy the most about spaces and just in general is having good open conversations that um, aren't combative. Like everything,
Mm-hmm.
everything in social media has become so black and white, and people hold these extreme views, and they don't ever really come together to try to like understand each other. You know what I mean? And because it's complicated, it's hard to try to understand the other side sometimes. But I find myself on both. Like I said, there's things I'm very, I would say, conservative about. Then there's also things I think that are probably very liberal. That's a very libertarian thing, right? Just like
Well,
the
when
government shouldn't be involved.
I I've been teaching for a long time. This is be my 44th year
Oh
teaching
yeah,
right
you get a heavy dose of,
and I
and you're in
they
Illinois.
used yeah, yeah,
That's probably even
yeah.
worse, right? Okay.
Central Illinois. I'm not up in communist Chicago up
Yeah.
there. So, but I used to give the world's smallest political quiz, and almost everybody is libertarian when they really answer the questions correctly. Now, I had a couple of teachers that were disappointed they weren't all the way to the left. They were
Yeah.
they're bubble off the left, but they took that away. But I'm more libertarian than anything. I'm more I'm not going to judge what you're doing, but I don't want what you're doing to interfere with me or my family if I don't, don't want to cross. That's kind of where I'm at. I almost don't care what the behavior is. As long as you're not hurting someone, fine.
Yeah. And
And
I
I
think
like small government too.
Yeah, what's interesting is that libertarians in my mind are they get kind of bunched in with conservatives when I actually think libertarians tend to be more liberal.
Yeah,
Like
we're kind of
socially,
middle of the
you're
road people,
yeah, and stuff like, like immigration's a very interesting topic in the libertarian circle. I think it's a very divisive
Hmm.
topic. But I also I don't want to be full on libertarian because I think like becoming an ideal, like identifying yourself and aligning yourself with something is instantly restricting yourself. You're instantly putting a label, and you're almost like telling yourself, I have to think this way, a certain way, because I'm part of this group. Where I would rather kind of take each topic as is and run it through that whatever mill I have of my morals or my beliefs, because
Hmm.
I'd rather be consistent. I want to be as consistent as I possibly can with how I think, because if I otherwise it's like you would just go insane, right? If you're if you're logically inconsistent all the time, like you're pro freedom, but then you're also pro police. That's kind of a weird take. I'm not saying that we shouldn't have police, but we
Hmm.
should
No.
certainly be very restrictive of what we let the police do to people.
Well, yeah,
You
but
know?
I'm that, I like as few laws as possible, as little government as possible. There's got to be some something back there to protect somebody who can't protect themselves. But at the
Yeah,
same
absolutely.
time, you don't want, like, I hear we commit a felony every day. There's so many laws we don't even know we're doing it.
Right.
That's just an insane thought to think of, that just by doing whatever you're committing a felony like
Yeah.
that. So you're probably not going to get arrested for it, but that's just crazy.
Yeah, I was thinking the other day, I was like, I wonder if they had speed limits, but they never gave out speeding tickets. So it was almost like, look, this is the recommended speed you should be traveling.
Right.
Like, how many people? I think most people would still go, okay, I'm in a neighborhood. I'll drive the speed. Yeah, you're going to have one asshole once in a while. But for the most part, I think people would self police, and just giving police more reason to go and pull people over and intervene for whatever reason. It's just creating bad situations, and that's why
Yeah.
people end
Mm-hmm.
being shot. Like they could right now just put cameras on the road and give you tickets if you're going over the speed limit. Now that's 1984 type of stuff,
Right.
but they don't want to do that. They want to have the police harassing people. There's a reason why they do that. There's a lot of money to be made, right?
Oh yeah, lots of money,
It builds the
especially at the end
legal
of the
system.
month.
So yeah, I don't know. It's just an interesting and that's what I mean is like I don't think you can take a topic like the policing topic and just wave a wand and go, well, I'm conservative there, I'm Republican, therefore I'm pro police, or I'm liberal and therefore I'm anti police. Like it's a very nuanced conversation, and the people who are uh, proponents, like during the Black Lives Matter, saying we need to have maybe fewer police interventions or different types of policemen. I actually think that's a great idea. Like someone's thinks they're gonna, calls because their brother is gonna commit suicide or something. Maybe it doesn't require an armed police officer to show up, you know, or somebody who's not very good at negotiating, and that's not their main strength, right? You
Right.
can't expect a policeman to just be all things to all people. They're, they're armed protectors of, and they deal with dangerous people all the time. So they're not always going to be the right person for a not dangerous person. And that's why I think, you get, people make mistakes. They're humans too, so.
Oh, I made enough of mine, that's for sure. I'm going through my little. Oh, one thing, I don't know what you think about this, but I have really been enthralled by, and I wish I was a younger person, I would take advantage of this, but by what has turned around El Salvador. I just find that so amazing down there. I don't know if you followed that at all, but they were going to the murder capital of the world, and they went a whole year without a murder.
Did they
Uh,
really?
oh yeah, it just Bukele came in, and one of the first things he did was, they made Bitcoin legal tender
Mm-hmm.
because their economy was just crashing. Then they're mining Bitcoin using the power of a volcano. Good grief,
Yep.
that's cheap electricity, isn't it? With a volcano powering you. And then they did these little communities where they did experiments in the Bitcoin, and it went over pretty well. The people were resisting it, but now they've seen the advantage of it. And then here's the thing: he did big. They had a huge gang problem. I mean, huge. There's a country of 6 million people, and they had like 60,000 gang members.
Right. Yep.
So people were just I think every family lost a member sometime. And I heard yesterday that this one family hadn't been outdoors at night for 40 years. Can you
Wow.
imagine that? They were so scared of that. Well, he came in, he put 60,000 gangsters in prison, and
Ugh,
there's no quarter. Two guys escaped the other day from prison. He sent 5,000 troops out to get them,
Jesus.
and they put them back in there. And so when you write, now this
Now that's
sounds
not small state at all.
well, when you hear when you're a little bit when you're a little, this sounds heavy-handed, but they were just
Yeah.
robbing people blind on buses. So now there's two guys with AKs, on the buses. They're the good guys, and they're not having any robberies whatsoever. Now the only downside to see this is he's a benevolent guy. What if you get a
So far, yeah.
non-benevolent with that? It's already set up right in
Yep.
that way. But he's turned that country around, and all these especially crypto people, they're flocking down there. No taxes on if you bring the Bitcoin in, the technology. There's no taxes of any kind on you except for just what
Maybe
like on
sales
what you
tax or
make.
something.
Yeah, sales tax. It's very, but no property tax or anything. They kind of, if you buy like I think $250,000 of land, you can become a citizenship automatically. They're
Right.
working on that. So I mean, it's just crazy the opportunities down there. I
Yeah,
don't know.
I'm rooting them on so that they can build a model that can
Yeah.
be that can prove that hey, there it's worth us doing it. I mean, so if there's a second country that starts to do it and sees a similar influx, I'm hoping there's a Litecoin beach or a Litecoin country
Mm-hmm.
uh, at some point. I was actually just talking to Master LTC. I said, it'd be cool because Charlie Lee was born in the Ivory Coast. I don't even know that he lived there
Oh,
till he
I
was
didn't
like
know that.
13.
No.
I thought that'd be the place to go because they're under that West African franc. I don't know if you know. Do you know how France has these two currencies that they
Yes.
basically
Well, I
still
did know they had
colonize
two
most of
currencies,
Africa with?
but that makes sense. Yeah.
Yes, there's a Central African franc and a West African franc, and
Huh.
essentially the the central bank of France controls the monies of all these different countries still, which is pretty wild.
Yeah, that is wild.
Yeah, it's a weird setup, but that's what I thought. Maybe that's where Litecoin needs to go, Ivory Coast and Charlie's birthplace. But we're a long ways away. But
Yeah.
the Bitcoin people they're rabid and they're making inroads, and they're doing a lot of work to bring this to people. I assume people are going to use other things other than Bitcoin in the future, but it's cool. They're setting the tone, so to speak, which is great.
Yeah, I saw some of the other countries. I can't name them, put my finger on exactly, but I know there's oh gosh,
It's
I'm
like
going to say the
Central
wrong
African
country.
Republic and
Well, yeah, they are. Yeah.
Panama might be thinking about it too. I'm not
Right.
sure.
Well, there's a couple in that same area, El Salvador, maybe northern South America, where they already have areas. Like they got a lake there that's all Bitcoin. It's like a tourist spot, and they're starting to branch out. I think I heard Uruguay was talking about making legal tender. I think
Oh yeah,
this
that'd
is
be
this
cool.
is pulling out of stuff I listen.
Yeah.
I listen to a ton of stuff all week, so I'm not sure if I got that right, but I think it is. So, well, anything else, Grant? I mean, you've been great. I'm trying to go through my list. I think we talked about everything.
Yeah.
Much.
No, I think I just kind of on that El Salvador thing.
Mm-hmm.
It's very encouraging right now. It's not happening organically, right? The Bitcoin thing, it's getting kind of a bit shoved down the citizens' throats.
Right.
But again, we're trying different ways of getting this stuff out there. And if anything, some people are going to become, when I say Bitcoiners, I mean like they're going to understand why Bitcoin's valuable, not just pure Bitcoin users, right? But they'll get crypto. It's gonna plant some seeds. And I don't know. I think with the government, like you said, he's a dictator, a benevolent dictator right now. He loses an election. Does the next guy come in and he's
Yes.
anti-crypto
Yeah.
and all that work is for naught? That's very possible. But the idea that people are getting orange pilled, they're understanding these technologies, I think is huge. And in all places of the world, South America, and Africa are probably, and I would say Asia too, probably the places that need a currency that isn't controlled by their governments because, and particularly in Africa, those governments have proven to basically fail those people
Well, it
over and
gives
over
a
again.
chance for it gives a huge chance for people who are unbanked to be banked.
Yep.
All they need is a cell phone.
Yep.
And that's what's happening like in those countries like big time, they're getting a form of being banked in trade.
Yep.
So well, anything else you want to add?
No, no. I think just if you're interested, come to the Wednesday at 9 p.m. spaces. We talk about all this type of stuff. And sometimes it's fun and sometimes it's kind of serious. Sometimes I have interviews in there. It's anything and everything. So I'm trying to go from 9 to 12. And then somebody, Chief is, I don't even know. I think Chief Litecoin is his full name on Twitter. He does Litecoin after dark at midnight
Oh,
Eastern.
that's cool.
So
That might be that's
maybe
a little too late
slowly
for
but
me.
surely we'll build like a schedule, where people can listen to Litecoin spaces all day if they want. But
Well, pop in a couple times on Friday night spaces with happy hour.
yeah, I'll try. It's just
Because
I'm usually
and
eating
Clint
dinner.
always has different titles, but it's the same thing.
Well, he goes late, right? He goes like from 8
Well,
o'clock
he
on.
started at 7 last time. I think I said, guys, I got to leave. It was about 11 o'clock last night. I said,
Yeah.
I got to
I
get a little sleep
sometimes will
here.
pop in. I'll sometimes pop in at like 12:30 or something. My kids go to bed and I'll jump on. But
No, they've been knowing to go to real late in there. So
yeah, I used to have them. If you go to my podcast, I think there's a couple like 5-hour episodes that I used to record the whole spaces. Now I've got a new system where I'm going to record like an hour or something, and then you know that's all you get. If you want to hear the whole thing, you got to tune in on Wednesdays.
so so anyway, I want to just say, hey everybody, hit up Litecoin Underground podcasting, and
Yeah,
and
follow me
support.
on Twitter, LTC at
Yeah,
LTC
Twitter's the
underground
place,
on
isn't
Twitter.
it? Yeah.
Yeah,
So
that's where
Twitter
I'm
is
mostly
basically.
active. Yep.
So I'm not a big Twitter guy, but I've had to go on the Twitter to communicate with all the crypto people, all the
Yep.
Litecoin people. So I'm on there a little more now. So
Yeah, Twitter Spaces are fun. I mean, they're it's so nice that you get people. It feels like every week somebody new comes in and just has a
mm-hmm.
question or brings up a topic that's really uh generates a lot of interesting conversation. And we've got a pretty solid group of people that we banter real well together. We disagree, but we don't hate each other, right? It's just all good, positive conversation. And yeah, it's fun. I'm really obviously enjoying it. I've been doing it for a year and a half every week. So
Well, let me pause this, but I'll talk to you a couple seconds before you leave here.
all
Okay.
right, sounds good.
So we're going to end the podcast now. Everybody, thanks for coming. It's been great, and we'll see you soon.